Hello, this is Ed, and I'd like to welcome you to week 2 of our course. During week 2, we're going to cover 3 chapters that really delve into what I would term the psyche of individuals and organizations. Chapter 3, 4, and 5. Chapter 3 focuses on the concepts of attitude and job satisfaction. These two concepts obviously impact every single individual. We all have an attitude. We all have different degrees of job satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So chapter 3 delves into those academic concepts, and I suggest as you go through chapter 3 and read it, be thinking about, obviously your own personal views then on your own feeling as you may have at this moment with the job you have, but also jobs you've had before, as well as people that you work with. And I'm sure you'll concur the varying degrees of satisfaction, the wide array of attitudes people have on a day-to-day basis. And again, attitudes are something that we could readily change, and we basically all do, being the human beings that we are. Chapter 4 delves into the concepts of emotions and moods. So going to a deeper level than just attitudes. We're really kind of dissecting the concept of attitude, peeling back the onion, so to speak, to really look at what are some of the components that create and drive the attitudes that literally every human being has. So we'll be looking at the concepts of that, and I'd suggest you consider, one lesson I learned many years ago when I began working in HR, and that is that emotions and logic, the way I would explain it, is like it's two tracks on a train track that are running parallel, and as you all know, parallel lines never meet. So what I mean by that analogy is trying to use a logical answer to resolve an emotional issue will never work, and vice versa. Trying to use an emotional response to resolve a logical answer, of course, will never work either. So keep that in mind as you're going through your day-to-day routine, either as a supervisor, manager, or if you're not one yet, you will be eventually. Because it's important, I bring that up, it's important that you understand where the individual's coming from when they come to you with an issue. If they are emotional, if they're showing their feelings, you trying to utilize a logical response to address that, you're probably going to be talking to the wall. The individual just will not be reached by that approach. So chapter 4 really delves into the importance of emotional intelligence, being able to readily read an individual, trying to understand what really is their issue, and then working through with that individual is much easier from my perspective if you're having that discussion face to face. Even if it's on Skype, at least you can see the 3 dimensions. You can read the body language of an individual, the intonation in their language, in their tone, in their voice. It's far harder when it's 2-dimensional, when you're doing it, say, by a telephone call. But again, in today's day and age, it's pretty common that you'll be talking with employees, of course, face to face, but probably you all probably already do via Skype conversation, FaceTime, resolving issues live via screen. Versus just having a sit-down discussion over a cup of coffee. Chapter 5 delves into the whole array of personality and values. Key difference is we all have the ability to change our attitude, not only daily, hourly, even by the minute. It could be something as simple as a post we read on social media that rapidly shifts our attitude from good to not so good. But values, in contrast, are pretty much embedded in our makeup. We all have a different line that we choose not to cross. We all have different values that we hold dear. The key thing is there's not a right or wrong value. And I state that because while there are norms, say for example in the United States, you will find as you work with individuals in other countries, Mexico, the Far East, Germany, Brazil, the norms and the values that we may hold dear for the most part as United States citizens will vary when you're dealing with individuals from other countries. Case in point, and I'll be brief, I remember when I was heading up and helping start our maquiladora in Juarez, Mexico. Again, I reside in Texas, so it wasn't that far away. After about a year and a half, 2 years, the plant was coming up quite well. We wanted to recognize and reward the individuals for a job well done. And again, the work culture in Mexico compared to US, while it may appear similar on the surface, I think this example will show you it's not. We decided to reward everyone in the facility with a day off with pay. They had Friday off, they came back to work on Monday, and as we walked around and were talking to people, asking if they enjoyed their day off, again, number one, the culture in Mexico is not to challenge superiors. So they were very cordial, but we could tell by talking with them that something was amiss, something was wrong. What we found out is that the individuals, while they may have appreciated the day off with pay, they really would have preferred to be at work. Reason being, even though we paid at 2.5 times the minimum wage in Mexico at our facility there, one of the benefits we provided was free breakfast, lunch, and dinner for employees that work the 2 shifts, one that worked first and second. So individuals, when they'd come to work, would get a free breakfast and a free lunch. And if they worked second, they would get a free dinner, at that hour. We did not have a 3rd shift. What we failed to see was while they enjoyed their day off with pay, they went without eating for the day. Their compensation that they received covered all their bills, living expenses, but they, as the employee, depended on the meals we have where they would eat heartily. So they went, I won't say without eating, but did not have the meal they normally would have. So again, that sounds very hard to fathom. It was for us as well, but we realized that the values and the attitudes we had here in the US were drastically different, and that's just one example of many I can provide to you. So again, 3 chapters this week, kind of moving to the logistics of the week. Week 2, you'll also complete 2 discussion board questions. One is an interesting exercise where you'll complete a Jung assessment, J-U-N-G. It's an abbreviated form of Myers-Briggs. So you'll get a chance to, if you haven't already done so, find out what your Myers-Briggs assessment score is, and you'll share that in the discussion board question, and we'll get a feel for how diverse our class is, based on that discussion question. You also do a paper, the second DQ will be looking at the concept of Hofstede's dimensions, and we're going to relate it to Brazil, because that's going to tie to the term paper that you're doing for our class. The paper you'll be doing is an exercise as well that definitely ties to our perm paper, and you're going to use a concept that I call the 5 W's and 1 H. You're going to be assessing a situation in that paper where you're going to be looking at the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and again, utilizing the concepts you're covering in the 3 chapters we cover this week. We have a few short videos for you to review as well that are tied to the chapter, and again, you'll be submitting the first part of your term paper, which is basically the title and Venn diagram that kind of shows visually what your focus will be on your term paper. Now granted, you're all writing a term paper on the same topical area, but you've got the license and freedom to kind of define that paper as you see fit. So again, welcome to week 2. I think you'll find it educational, informative, and challenging, and I look forward to seeing you in the classroom.